Coming up on ATV News.
You just voted. We'll have your election results.
You may have seen a lot of these around campus recently. What are they and how will they change the way that you recycle?
It's all about the distance. Over the weekend, some USU engineers put their skills to the test.
Leaves are falling, but it's not because of the weather. We'll tell you why in the forecast.
Women's volleyball hosted 2 teams over the weekend. Was it all about that ace? Or was there trouble? Or both?
All that and more on ATV News.
You may have thought the weather was bad here on campus, but Logan wasn't the only part of Utah to get hit by the first big storm of the season. Wind gusts of 60 miles per hour knocked over half a dozen power poles in Tooele County and tipped over a cargo trailer in Sardine Canyon. No serious injuries were reported, but several drivers were stuck on I-80 Saturday afternoon. All power lines that were taken out by the storm were restored and no further damage was reported. We'll tell you if you can expect to see more storms like that later on in weather. Welcome to this week's ATV News. I'm Bradley Wells.
And I'm David Matthew Stewart.
Utah just made national history with the first black female Republican on her way to Congress. Mia Love won the 4th Congressional District. Our Becky Eisenhower is live in the newsroom to give you a closer look and some of the other results from last night. Becky?
Thanks, Brad. Last night's results showed some close races for the general election for those who fought their way to the bitter end. We'll start off with the closest major race in Utah. Republican Mia Love and Democrat Doug Owens were neck and neck through the entire race for the 4th Congressional District. But Mia Love pulled out in front, winning 4% more than Doug Owens. Mia Love made national news headlines because not only is she the first black female Republican, she's also the first Haitian American congresswoman. Before running for Congress, Love was the mayor of Saratoga Springs. For the rest of the state, the night belonged to the incumbents. Let's take a look at the other 3 congressional districts. In District 3, Jason Chaffetz easily beat Brian Wanacott. Chris Stewart beat Luz Robles in District 2, and incumbent Rob Bishop beat Donna McAleer for the 2nd time in our District 1. In the race for Attorney General, another Republican, Sean Reyes, ran in a special election against Democrat Charles Stormont and came out victorious. Closer to home, let's take a look at the Cache County elections, which are still controlled by Republican representatives. Cache County is part of the State House District 5, where incumbent Kurt Webb keeps his seat. Incumbent James Swink beat Chris Daines for Cache County Attorney, and Craig McAllister was up against write-in Tyler Pitcher, but swept the race with almost 90% of the votes for Treasurer. State Senator for District 17, Peter Knudsen, kept his seat with 2,248 votes. Many of the other elected officers ran unopposed, which included Cache County Assessor, Clerk, Executive, Recorder, and Sheriff. Nationally, the Republicans took control of the Senate after winning 52 seats to the Democrats' 43. Back to you, Brad.
Thanks, Becky. For more details on the elections and to see full results, visit elections.utah.gov.
New recycling bins on campus make it easier to be green. Our Ileana Barunda shows you how campus is being more sustainable.
These are some of the old recycling bins in the TSC, which was the only place on campus where the bins were clearly marked.
In the past, we had a hodgepodge of bins. They weren't all the same size, weren't all the same shape, and different products went in different bins, so it created a lot of confusion.
This is an old bin, and here's the brand new ones, which are in multiple buildings and clearly marked so that students know where to put their waste. In the TSC, there's even bins for old batteries and ink cartridges, but students are still using the garbage bin the most. And at the recycling center, there's still a lot to be sorted.
A lot of times it just comes from just not knowing what to recycle, what can be put in the bins, what cannot be put in the bins.
And plastic containers like this one's for yogurt. But if you have food left in it, you should probably just put it in the garbage because it can't go in the recycling. But with bottles like this that have liquid in them, as long as most of the liquid is out of the bottle, this can still be recycled.
Most of the students, in my experience, are happy to do it the right way if they know how.
So you're helping the university make money and recover costs, and then you're also deviating landfill use.
When you combine the revenue with what the savings are that it otherwise have to go to the landfill, it is a significant amount of money. It does cost money to recycle, to have our trucks and our labor, but we feel it's a worthy endeavor to do it.
Cache Valley, we have a lot of garbage, so we want to recycle some of that. The university recycles 25%. We hope to do more.
Ileana Barunda, ATV News.
For more information, visit usu.edu/recycle. Several classes at Logan High have more than 50 students in them. Levy funds are being used to fix this, but some classes are luckier than others. This is Elizabeth Mott's AP Calculus class. Last year she had about 80 AP Calculus students divided between 2 classes. This year, the same amount is split into 3 sections, giving her less than 30 students in each class. Mott said she spent most of her time last year taking roll and trying to settle down 50 students. This year, students use time more productively.
They have more energy. They feel like they have their personal space so they can work together. They can turn and get in groups. They can do activities. It's a lot quieter so they can hear, concentrate what's going on.
AP classes like Mrs. Mott's class, as well as concurrent enrollment classes, are benefiting from the funding, but there are some classes like social studies and science that still have more than 50 students in them. Vice Principal Peacock said he is happy with the changes made so far, but he said he's frustrated that not all classes are being treated equally.
Coming up next, if you tried to sling your pumpkins, how far would they go? Some students at USU tried to answer that question.
And an in-depth look at how to use roundabouts and not get a ticket.
This is the moment I knew his future had no boundaries.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org.
Welcome back. Halloween has come and gone, but what happens to the leftover pumpkins? Our Aaron Griffiths went out to show you how a group of engineering students took typical pumpkin use to new heights.
Leland Rasmussen and his team have spent the last few weeks building a trebuchet to launch pumpkins.
They do the pumpkin walk here in the community and they have a ton of leftover pumpkins. And so we build trebuchets to launch those pumpkins the day after.
But building the medieval weapon hasn't been easy.
There's a lot of hiccups in the beginning.
Hey, one of them's a little wampus.
Just a few degrees or a few inches off can make the world of difference.
But getting those few degrees correct is even more difficult with equipment that's available on a college budget.
We didn't have table saws or big levels or squares, things like that. It's been having to use the limited resources we have to build this, and that's been a challenge, but it's been great.
So all the force down has to equal all the force up.
Oh man.
We put about 120 pounds on it, and it goes very, very fast with 120 pounds, so we figure when we add 300, it'll fly, and we will launch a pumpkin.
A large crowd came to watch Saturday's event, and the 4 trebuchets that Leland's team faced had one thing in common. They were bigger.
We were just like miniature compared to all of them, and I was like, oh man, how are we gonna do today? Okay, we might be small, but we got some punch to us.
For some of the trebuchets, getting the pumpkin to go the right direction was a struggle. Awards were given for design, accuracy, and distance, and although Leland's crew was unable to take first in any of the categories, they're already making plans for next year's design.
We're going to go higher, and we're going to go more structurally sound on our counterweight system. And we're going to do some more projections as far as what to expect.
Aaron Griffiths, ATV News.
The Pumpkin Toss is an annual event held each fall and is open to the public. For more information, you can visit asme.usu.edu. Radio from Hell was radio from Utah State on Friday, the #1 morning show in Utah, broadcasted from the TSC as part of their annual college tour. Carrie, Bill, and Gina did a full show from 6 to 10 a.m. with USU students standing by and listening as the live audience. The broadcast was part of their 4th annual college tour, where they visit as many colleges and universities in the state as they can. The tour lets the hosts get out of the studio and also lets listeners meet and talk with them.
Originally, I think the reason why we started the Radio from Hell University tour was we just wanted to get out and be among college students. What it's evolved to now is something we look forward to every year. Not to mention it's a great way for our salespeople to be able to make a little extra money in a way that typically we don't do.
While the show did many of their standard features like Big Boy News and Opinioendo, the hosts also took some time to highlight Utah State. They talked with students and administrators about USU and student life in Logan. The hosts said a lot of great things about Logan, but one thing they all agreed on was that the best part of Logan is Aggie ice cream.
Love them or hate them, roundabouts are here to stay. We drove ourselves crazy gathering pointers on how you should handle them so you won't have to. As roundabouts become more common in Cache Valley, you might find yourself forced to pick sides of a battle that you weren't even aware of.
We get a lot of complaints for roundabouts and a lot of, or not complaints, but a lot of concerns about roundabouts. And we get a lot of people that, are really big fans of them.
Until a few years ago, it's possible to have never seen a roundabout, let alone formed an opinion on how one would do so close to home.
There's a lot of people that have been in Europe that say roundabouts are great, and there's others that don't think they should ever be used. Some people don't like roundabouts at all, ever, for any reason, and others do.
Cache Valley's newest roundabout opened up a month ago. It replaces the bustling intersection at 5th North and 2nd East.
An intersection is really one of the most dangerous places on the roadway because you have cars coming from opposite directions. People making left-hand turns in front of a car creates head-on collisions, which is very dangerous.
With safety in mind, Logan installed what they hoped would be considered a more attractive solution to the increasing traffic.
Typically, you've had cars backed up to the north during the rush hours of the morning and the evening, especially the evening, and we're not seeing that like we did before.
The biggest issue people wanted was something that would blend in with that neighborhood, which is all residential through there, be nice looking, and be something that the community could be proud of.
If you're concerned that 1 month isn't enough time to judge a roundabout's character, let's look to Providence, just to the south of us. They installed one almost 2 years ago.
I think a roundabout is a great traffic calming device. It solves a lot of issues. In my opinion, much better than a four-way stop.
So what can Loganites learn from our neighbors to the south?
The biggest complaint, probably overall, is I wish other people knew how to drive the roundabout as well as I do. Everybody thinks they're the expert, but that's not the case.
There really is nothing to worry about with roundabouts as long as you remember these 3 things. Always yield to whoever is in the roundabout already. Pedestrians always have the right of way. And you only need to signal when you want to get out.
They don't need to signal going in, but when they're going to exit, so that other vehicles that maybe are trying to enter the roundabout understand that they're going to exit before they come on. So it just helps the flow of traffic in the roundabout itself if people will signal their intentions.
If people would just approach the roundabout, look to their left, yield to any traffic that's already in the circle, and then when it's clear, proceed, everything is real smooth.
Captain Hooley says the Logan City Police Department is there to help, and he encourages you to post any traffic questions you might have on their Facebook wall.
Up next, Kris Hyde will have your Cache Valley weather report.
The current temperature in Logan is 51 degrees.
Oh, look, a redhead. Staring contest. You still got it. I know.
Come alive with the forest.
The dad was cute.
They were looking right at us.
Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
When you're out there, there's no telling what you'll find.
I see it, I see it. Oh, look at you.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org.
They're coming. Places, everybody.
Light check. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Everything looks good on our end.
And lights.
Come alive with the forest. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
So, Kris, last week it's starting to get pretty chilly. We had that cold front come in, but pretty warm today. What's up with that?
Yeah, it got nasty last week, but man, it is looking better now. Yeah, we can go ahead and take a look at it if you want. So the National here, as you can see, there's a cold front coming through, starting down here in Texas and making its way back up east. But the good news is it is missing Utah altogether. So we can go ahead and take a look at the local, and you can see nothing. Absolutely nothing there, and that's a good thing because that means there's no moisture, no cold fronts, and yeah, just good weather there. So we can go ahead and hop over to the 7-day, and again, nothing but good signs coming from this week's weather. We have a little bit of cloud coverage for these first couple of days, but as you can see, it's going to get up to 66 by Friday. And then once we hop on to the weekend, it's just going to be completely clear, blue skies, and up to 66 degrees on Sunday. So if you have a chance to go out and do something, definitely aim for this weekend because it's going to be beautiful. And you can see that the lows are staying above 32, so that's a pretty good chance that we'll keep the frost off of our cars, which I know we all hate. I hate it. So, and then a little bit more cloud coverage on Monday and Tuesday, but overall just a pretty good looking week and really pretty nice weather.
I'm really excited about it. I feel like I should be thanking you because I don't have to scrape my windows. Thank you, Kris.
You're welcome.
It's getting pretty warm, but even if the weather does get cold, sports are starting to move indoors. And up next, we have Jill Hodson with your ATV Sports Report.
A star on the horizon. One volleyball player is improving and making her name known. Also coming up, Aggie basketball is starting. The men took the court on Halloween. The players who you will want to keep an eye on. USU's volleyball team kicked off their Halloween early as they took on the Air Force Falcons Thursday night in the first of 2 games over the weekend. After the Falcons scored the first point of the match, the Aggies fought back, scoring the next several points and keeping the Falcons at bay. The Aggies would continue to kill it the rest of the game. It didn't matter whether it came off the hand of number 15, Kaylee Kumalu, or whether it was a play like this one right here with a hard hit from Ellie Brainerd. It was all the same for USU. It was kill after kill after kill. Through the Air Force would keep each set close, they just couldn't catch the Aggies. USU swept the match with a final score of 3-0. After the sweep on Air Force, the Aggies looked for another win against New Mexico. Things were seeming grim when the Lobos scored the first few points of the game, but it became a block party with middle blocker Hannah Smith and setter Paige Neves. No later, Caitlin Van Hoff joined that block party. It wasn't just blocks though. Outside hitter Kaylee Kumalu hits it down where the Lobos can't touch it. The Aggies win the first set 25-17. It may have been all about the Aggies in the first set, but the Lobos came back winning the second and the third sets with hits like this. Caitlin Van Hoff earns her Slamhoff name with that kill. In the last play of the fourth set, Lobos setter digs up Ellie Brainerd's hit to defensive specialist who gets it up for number 3 Chantel Whittle, whose hit cannot be contained. The Aggies lose the game 1-3.
I thought our back row defense was making some plays, keeping the ball alive. We're getting opportunities. We're getting some nice swings. Kaylee Kamalu, another nice match for that kid. She's really starting to develop into a nice outside hitter.
We were playing really hard. We were fighting and everything. They were doing that also. Just they came out on top.
The Aggies are away for the next 2 weeks, visiting Nevada, San Jose State, Utah Valley, and Fresno State. A new basketball team, but a couple familiar faces on the court in the Spectrum. Texas A&M International traveled to Logan to take on our Aggies for the first exhibition home game. The Aggies know how to play, and Jalen Moore gets this steal and passes it to Darius Perkins, and when you think he's going for the layup, dunked. The man with the hair gets the game going good. Jalen Moore passes again to number 2 and drives it down the court. He stops for the jumper and drains the deuce. Not to be outdone though, Texas International's Anthony Alston gets the 3-pointer from that left side. A key player in this game for the Aggies is number 13, David Collette. Here, behind the ref, he is at the free throw line and gets the jumper for 2. Later in the game, Collette plays basketball, but and Alex Smith is playing football defense. Collette just couldn't cool it. And Jalen Moore made you wanting more Aggie basketball. They were so on fire that they burned the rest of my highlights to the ground. David Collette came out as the top scorer of the night with 23 points for the Aggies as they beat the Dust Devils 77-70. High school playoffs started over the weekend, and finishing second in their region gave Skyview the opportunity to host the first round as Murray High School Spartans came to town Friday afternoon. Murray got on board first with 1-yard run by Devin Baldwin, but that is all we'd see from the Spartans as Skyview took over this game with this 16-yard pass to Bryce Mortensen. They followed that up with a 6-yard pass to Hunter Chambers, giving the Bobcats a 14-7 halftime advantage. The second half belonged to Skyview running back Isaac Herman as he ran in 3 different touchdowns of 1, 3, and 17 yards. The Bobcats scored 35 unanswered points to put this one away before the third quarter was even over. Skyview wins the game 42-14 and advances to play Timpview in a regular season match that the Thunderbirds won. Skyview is the last remaining local team in the high school playoffs, with Logan losing on the road to Skyline that same day. For the second high school game, we have Snow Canyon taking on Bear River for the honor to head back down to St. George and take on Desert Hills. After the first half, of Bears had a 20-14 lead over the visiting Warriors. Gage Kaneko took this handoff and would just not go down as he bounced, spun, and rolled his way through a huge gain. A couple plays later, Walker Riley found Cole Frank from 9 yards out for the touchdown, and final score of the game, giving Bear River the 27-17 victory and a date with Desert Hills down south this weekend. High school playoffs continue this weekend with the quarterfinals. Utah State football was also in Hawaii over the weekend, and they pulled off a win, but they'll be back November 15th.
That'll be good to have them back home. Thanks, Jill.
You're welcome.
When we come back,
you're probably used to seeing pool noodles in the water. Find out why you could start seeing them in your garage.
Today, 1 out of every 4 American kids is Hispanic. That means many of the future doctors who will care for us, the engineers who will build our cities, the scientists and entrepreneurs of our country can be your kids. We all know how hard it is for you to send them to college. This is why we want you to know you are not alone. And every day, more people support you to make it happen. Many support you. And the Hispanic Scholarship Fund helps you prepare, plan, and pay for your kids' college education. Learn more.
welcome back. So, David, do you know what this is?
Well, Brad, it looks like it's a pool noodle.
Do you know what they're typically used for?
Swimming. You use them in the water.
Keep them in the water to keep people afloat. Well, you know, that's true, but that's not the only part of the answer, as our Misty English shows us.
You might be used to seeing pool noodles in, well, the pool. But now, people are coming up with uses for them out of the water.
I've seen a lot of them used for costumes. I don't really know what costume exactly, but I've seen them for costumes.
If you slice them really thin, you could use them as coasters.
There are more practical uses for them in the garage. You can cut the noodles in half and attach them to the garage walls at the height of your car. This prevents your side mirrors from scraping the wall if it's a tight squeeze.
Another reason to use pool noodles in the garage is for people who have to park close to the wall. That way, when they open their car door, if they've parked too close, they won't hit the wall.
Zip them in your boots. The noodles will help the boots keep their shape and keep the material from creasing or cracking, especially leather.
Well, I've used towels before where I roll them up and stick them in my boots, but I've never thought of using a pool noodle.
In the summer when you don't use your boots, you need a good way to store them, so it's a good idea.
So whether it's in the pool, your garage, or your home, pool noodles are good for more than just getting wet. Misty Inglet, ATV News.
One reason people like using pool noodles is because they're pretty cheap. You can find them at most dollar stores. Do you want to study in London? Well, doing so may be easier than you think, at least if you're an accounting student. The Huntsman School of Business has linked up with the International Accounting Seminars to offer a certification that could land you a job just about anywhere. The online seminars will be free to USU students, but because it's the first program of its kind, it could draw more than just Aggies.
We're not aware of anyone else that has a specific U.S. GAAP certification anywhere in the world. And when you think about it, here we are in Logan, Utah, and we're offering a certification that is not just useful to people in Utah or the U.S., but it's a global thing.
Though most of the work can be done online, there is a proctor exam required to finish.
Thank you for watching ATV News. Join us again next week for more news from around Cache Valley.
Have a great week. We're going to send you out with some more video of the pumpkin trebuchets.
way. There you go.